I'd just like to introduce our next speaker, Friedrich Portner, who's the Chief Commercial Officer of Abu Dhabi Ports Maritime Cluster Group. Looking forward to hearing your presentation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And as I said, I'm Friedrich Portner, the Chief Commercial Officer of the maritime arm of Abu Dhabi Ports Group, Safin Group. And today I have the pleasure to tell you a bit about our views on the maritime sector, our conclusions, and specifically about the tanker business. Now, before diving into this, I would like to take the opportunity. I heard a lot from my colleagues and from you, a few words: cyclicality, unpredictability, and being cautious. I would like to turn it around and say, actually, I'm very, very positive. Let me start on this note. I'm positive on the short term, I'm positive on the midterm and on the long term, because I do believe that the fundamentals are right. And by the way, cyclicality, in my view and in our view, provides also the opportunity. And if everything is stable and everything is known, this is where not only it gets boring, but everybody does the same thing, and this is where the collapse happens. Typically, cyclicality is good because it creates the opportunity. And I will show you how we have been benefiting from that as well. Now, the market is changing, that's what we heard. And the Safin Group is consisting of 3 business units. One is the shipping arm, container, bulk, liquid transshipment, the offshore and subsea business, which is the offshore support vessels, logistic and subsea, and then the marine services. Now, I was saying opportunities come typically if you're tactical and strategic. And if you will see, and I heard from my colleagues earlier, they were talking about the difficulties of COVID. This is where I would like to say as well, there are opportunities even in COVID. We entered the container feeder business during COVID at the beginning and established a good foundation and are growing, and we're very positive about that. We've done the similar things about bulk and even liquid. We started during COVID and before the crisis, and everybody speaking about it because we were positive about it. And the other sector we're very positive about is the offshore sector, and we believe the fundamentals there are right. Now, this is mainly driven by several market trends. Some of them were mentioned by my colleagues. Obviously, we have an aging, I don't want to generalize, but I will generalize for a moment and then go into more specifics. In general, the fleet is aging. Tanker is also aging, but maybe a bit less than other sectors. Secondly, we have, if we look forward, and it was mentioned by some of my keynote speakers here, there is a supply-demand imbalance to be expected if we analyze the market right. And this goes through the tanker market to the other markets as well, or the other categories of assets. Obviously, we have also the eco-ship and the emission regulations, which will actually, in our view, sharpen or actually make it even more difficult and create this imbalance even stronger for good assets, which was also mentioned by Drury earlier. And this creates as well opportunities. And last but not least, technology. We haven't heard a lot about technology today, but technology and the operating model, in our view, is a key driver for success going forward. Abu Dhabi Ports, or Safin Group, has been covering the seas for quite some time now, being it Southeast Asia, being it China, being it the Indian subcontinent, Red Sea, Arabian Gulf, or the Mediterranean, and now also the Black Sea. But also there's something happening which we haven't been speaking about today, and this is basically the middle corridor, the east-west route, which is actually looking at supplying goods and supplying even crude through the Caspian, through the Black Sea, and out of it. And we haven't spoken about this. And we believe this is actually this shift in trade route, as well as creating quite a bit of increased volumes and opportunities in the middle corridor. And we have been working on this for quite some time. And we believe that being it alone, because some of the pipelines cannot be used anymore, being it on the short term, but also on the longer term, in the Caspian and in the Black Seas terminal, the infrastructure are not adequate and needs to be beefed up and improved, but this goes as well for the marine assets that exists there and that can transport, being it the crude, being it, however, also cargo, containers, and bulk. Overall, new ways, if we're talking about the middle corridor, new ways of integrated solution we will need to look at, because the market there is very fragmented. We have different countries, we have different ports, we have different owners, and all of that needs to be looked at in a holistic way to create opportunities for the maritime industry. And this is where the challenge will be coming, and this is the challenge that will need to be solved in our view. Now, jumping a bit deeper, and I will not spend too much time, but on the tanker market and our views there, because our colleagues here have been speaking about it. But if I look briefly on the LNG market, which is for us very interesting, there's a number of FID projects coming up. And these projects today will create more demand. That's number one. Secondly, the routes, the historical routes have been changing, all we know, because of the geopolitical situation. That means there are longer routes, there are different routes, and there is more, creating even more demand. And this leads, if I look at the order book of LNGs, which is only 30 vessels which are currently ordered, more or less, is not really compensating for the need that is currently there. And if we look at it on the short, medium, and long term, our view. And therefore, this is one of the reasons, at least on the LNG market, where we're very positive among all the other sectors as well. Tanker business, I will not dwell on it too much because it was explained earlier, but similarly, we have an aging fleet there. The regulation, the changes, the geopolitics are playing a role, and I think this is not short term. We believe it is a sustainable market if we think about it strategic, if we analyze the right routes, at least from Safin Group, and we invest at the right time into technology, which we've been doing, and into some operating models which go from joint ventures to partnerships to integrated solutions. So overall, to summarize, yes, the market is transitioning, it is not stable, it is not clear, but we have a few mega trends which we believe strongly in, and we believe these are creating real, overall marine asset categories, but also especially in the liquids and tankers, opportunities for the future. And the time is to do and to capture now, and not only to think about what are the risks, I believe, and we believe. We believe as well that it is good to be positioned now there. We're doing major investments. Major investments are needed in the infrastructure, into assets, if we're talking about the middle corridor, if we're talking about terminals. But, and these are creating today constraints, these needs to be overcome, but they create also good opportunities to invest and to look at the work and at the opportunities differently. And last but not least, technology. We are looking into technology, so if you have any ideas, I'm happy to discuss that later on. But operating model and technology is one of the differentiator that we will see more and more. And if I summarize it in a word, as I said at the beginning, these are very interesting times, and the volatility and unpredictability for us is actually a good opportunity to look into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Portner. Thank you.